Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR, the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, we're going to talk about what happened last night on Honda's chat with what I like to call East Coast Corey. That's not what his name is, but he goes by some other stuff. It's like this nature guy or whatever. But yeah, and it basically is, as the title suggests, non-answers galore. If you guys want to go back and watch that chat if you haven't yet, like I suggest you do, because there's about an hour or so there of just this. I don't even know what to call it at this point, like weird circular logic that makes no sense, and it's basically just a dude being like claiming he's answering questions when he's not answering questions, and yeah, it's a bunch of fucking retarded bullshit, honestly. So, and as I said, after that dude left, and I was going to say it to his face, honestly, if he had stayed a little bit longer, like, these are the people that scare me, honestly, in our society, because these are the people I look at in some cases to be like the next Jim Jones types in general, or, like not even like cult leaders, maybe, but just like the secondary guys and stuff like that, that like, are like the first follower of like a cult leader kind of person is what it is. And yeah, it's a scary situation when you think about it like that, man. I'm not saying that's what that Corey dude is, because I don't know if that's true or not, honestly. But like, again, my autistic brain and stuff like that. Like, I always go to like, I seem to go like worst case scenarios on people and stuff like that. And the reason that I specifically say that about this individual is because of the fact that when you look at everything I've ever seen and stuff like that, when it comes to various things I've watched and read and stuff about like cults and cult followings and stuff like that, is all the shit this guy was basically saying. It kind of like goes into that circular kind of logistical, non-answers, and just like essentially, and as somebody even pointed out in the comment section, they were talking about it being like communist propaganda or something like that, is what they thought they were hearing from that dude. And I'm just like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was, honestly, like, because it felt like it wasn't far off, honestly, dude. And I'm not going to say it was communist propaganda or anything like that, but like, it definitely felt very cultish, is the best way I could describe it. And yeah, there were several times where I like almost got up and walked away from the entire chat and just left the fucking chat. And that's pretty sad when I would leave a panel, dude. And I don't do that many times, honestly. And to tell you like what it takes for me to leave a panel, like, yeah, it takes a lot, man. And that was the thing. Like, I asked the dude straight up, I'm like, because he was trying to like, pimp his fucking thing that he's doing next week, and I'm like, okay, where can you see this and stuff like that? Because I assumed at some point he was basically going to bring up himself. If that'd be the case, so I sort of like cut it off at the punch, really, is what it was, and was like, okay, I'm going to let you pimp your shit, kind of thing, is what it is, by like asking you this question, is what it would be. And am I actually going to watch this dude's like summit thing? Fuck no. I mean, I might watch, like, honestly, I might watch like one or two of the speakers and stuff like that, because he did mention something about like parenting. I think there was probably like I think there's a few medical freedom people in there and stuff like that I may want to actually like, hear from and stuff like that. But other than that, like, nah, like for the most part, I wouldn't watch that guy's content, is what it is, man. Mostly because, again, like, what's funny to me too is he even brought up like the sovereign citizen thing, and like how he claims to not be one of these people, but then like he espouses a lot of shit that they do. And it's like, okay, so what do you consider yourself? And I was going to ask him actually the question. I was like, I didn't get a chance to, unfortunately, but yeah, I was gonna, but because I pretty much knew the answer already, and it was like, yeah, are you actively voting? And of course, with his like the logic he was giving out for stuff, and like being all like, oh, statism this, statism that. I'm like, of course, this motherfucker's not voting, is what it is, dude. Like, none of those kind of people are, is what it is. And that's the problem right now, that like they want to sit there and act like they can make a real change and stuff like that. From sorry, my mic fell. But yeah, they want to sit there and espouse different things and act like they can make real change and stuff like that, and be like, oh, we're creating this, he didn't want to say commune, I believe, because that's kind of what it actually is. But he's like, yeah, this whole, gathering of people is what it ended up being then. And my thinking is, it's like, okay, dude, you say these things, but, how's it actually going to get accomplished? Like, what are you really doing to fight back against potentially tyrannical government at this point? And it doesn't seem like much, honestly. Whereas I've said in the past, trying to run for office and stuff like that, like, I think that could make change, honestly, dude, because again, it would take these people that actually want to get in just to basically make government go away, or at least make it small enough to where, it doesn't want to be seen and stuff, or it shouldn't be seen, or whatever the case be, and hold those people to account if they would, sort of break that oath and stuff like that, from a campaign platform to the actual being in power is what it is. And I think that's the issue right now, is that you have individuals, like myself, that would like to do stuff like that, but we can never get off the ground because we don't have financial means is what it is. And, you got all these people that want to sit there and be like, oh, we can totally do this thing, or whatever the case be, but, they would never back us as candidates and stuff like that because they're like, oh, the whole system's bullshit, or whatever the case be. And it's like, in some cases, I don't disagree with it, honestly. And that's the entire point, though. Where I get, my whole thing comes from is what it is, where I like sort of separate from this individual and stuff like that, is the fact that personally, to me, if you're going to sit there and call the current U.S. flag a battle flag, and you're going to sit there and like shit talk the founding fathers and stuff like that, like, to me, that's kind of fighting words, bro. Like, that's sort of like 10 paces kind of shit, honestly, if you want to be serious about it, man. And the thing is, then it's like this dude wants to sit there and espouse like, nonviolence or pacifism and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, tell me how far that's going to go when you're having your fucking head beaten in with a baseball bat, dude, by a Negan type of person is what it is, bro. It ain't going to go very far. And that's the thing. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, this dude would be one of the kind of individuals and stuff like that. And I think there's going to be a lot of these kind of people, honestly, when this country does finally fall, that they're just going to die. They're just going to be killed by like just a pissed off person is what it is. And they're going to be like, oh, but I can totally talk my way out of things. And it's like, dude, this dude himself even said it, like, back in the day. It was, one of those like Galileo or Socrates or whatever, and they were killed by a fucking mob. And it's because people were sick and tired of listening to their bullshit is what it was. And that's exactly what it'll be, man, in most cases. It's like, you're not talking your way out of nothing, bro. Like, if people want you dead, you're gonna be fucking dead. If people think you have a bag full of shit, they're gonna snipe your ass from a fucking rooftop or something like that, and then just take the bag, like, 2 minutes later or something like that, when they jump down from there and grab the shit. It ain't gonna be no talking your way out of stuff when you don't even see it coming, in most cases. And I think that's the truth, honestly. In a lot of cases, honestly, it's gonna be people that are gonna be, they're gonna sit there and they're gonna put themselves in the situation and, want to be all non-violent and stuff like that. And those are going to be the people, honestly, interestingly enough, those would be the kind of people that, as society begins to crumble and stuff like that, they would be the ones that would take sort of that dictator role and stuff like that, or would take sort of that, oh, I don't want these people in power because in reality, I really just want to take power for myself. And I think specifically with this individual I'm talking about, dude, and I almost called him out on this last night on Honda's panel, which was, at that point, it was myself, this guy, NEA, Honda, Leo, Corey from Texas, the real Corey is what I like to call him. So that'd be 6. And then I think Xanatos, and I can't remember if there was an 8th person there or not. I'm thinking if I remember. That was just the 7. Wait. Okay, so yeah, it would have been, wait. Maybe that was 8, actually. I'm thinking about it, because let me think now. Me, Honda, NEA, Leo, Corey, Xanatos, this dude. I think that was it, so it would be the 7 of us. Maybe there was an 8th person at one point, but I can't remember who it was offhand. But anyway, so basically, I feel like this guy, this, East Coast Corey, as I call him now, I think he definitely thought he was the smartest person in that panel, or in that room, technically in that room, or whatever you want to call it there, because technically we're not actually all in the same room, we're just in the same panels, would it be? But that's the problem with people like that. Like, they think that, like, those are the kind of people that think their shit don't stink, and think that they're, like, the smartest person in, like, every room they walk into, and then they wonder why people get fucking angry and, start to, like, lash out at them physically, or whatever the case be, or start, like, spewing vitriol in their general direction and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, dude, because you're going to sit there and act like you're intellectual, when in reality, a lot of the stuff you're saying is just nonsensical bullshit is what it is, dude. And that's the big thing, I'll sit here and I'll curse quite a bit. I'll, call people a fucking cunt if I want to call them a fucking cunt. And by the way, I almost called that guy a fucking cunt last night on his panel. I wasn't gonna go that far though. I wasn't gonna go that far because again, I don't really want to rock the boat like that. But yeah, it came real fucking close, man. Because if I had called him out for being like, sort of like the dude who thinks he knows it all, and then like, yeah, like you're just coming off like a fucking cunt, man, or something like that, like. It would have been a good dig, I think, but unfortunately, like I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna be that kind of an asshole. Is what it is, dude. Um, because I think he was already getting kind of, trounced by NEA and what Matt was saying and stuff like that, and trying to get a real answer out of the guy and stuff like that. So I really didn't feel like I needed to, jump in on that. Is what it would have been then. But yeah, the whole point is though, is it's like it's all well and good to talk about like supposed like anarchy and stuff like that, which I really don't understand like what this guy's even saying when he's talking about anarchy at this point, because from my understanding, like all anarchy basically is violence of some kind, or at least like some kind of like violent, like sort of anything goes kind of shit is what it is. Whereas like he was trying to say it as if it's like non-violent, just like everybody gets along kind of crap, which I don't believe that to be the case at all, honestly. And it's like the same thing with like anarcho-capitalism and stuff like that, where it's like you claim to be like all about like capitalism, but from like an anarchy standpoint, and it's just an oxymoron kind of fucking statement is what it is. And a lot of Antifa, I know for a fact, actually follow that kind of logic is what it is, dude. And it's because these are not smart individuals is what it is, man. And I'm not going to sit here and like try to, sort of lump this dude in with them and stuff like that, because I don't think he actually is. But like, I don't know, like something just seems off about that guy is what it is. And he's been in a couple of those panels in the past like few months and stuff like that. And honestly, the dude's rubbed me the wrong way, like from the jump is what it is. And then he had a couple of his buddies in there the one time, and it wasn't the third guy. The third guy, who was named John something or other, that dude was actually a cool motherfucker, because he was like an ex-addict and he was trying to help people get out of addiction and stuff like that, and do like basically God's work is what I'd call it. The thing was, the second guy, I forget what that dude's name was offhand. I can't remember what it was because you only there one time. That dude was a fucking weirdo in general, and he like was doing all kinds of like weird shit with like some kind of like face app technology or like deep fake technology, and it was like, yeah, it's just creepy, bro. Like, what the fuck you doing? Some of it was during the panel. A lot of it was actually in the after chat that he was doing that stuff, and he ain't been back there since. And I think there's a reason for that actually at this point. But yeah, that guy was just a really, really, really odd individual and stuff like that. But and that's the thing, and it's not like I'm not, against like different communities coming together and stuff like that. But again, like you really have to vet people properly and stuff is what it is, dude. Because unfortunately, you could have something where you think you're bringing people together, but in reality, you want to be over here doing your thing as like a constitutionalist person, and this person wants to do their thing as like, some kind of, spiritualistic, like nature fucking sort of like law of the land kind of stuff, or whatever the case be, but not really law of the land kind of stuff. And like that works in some cases, but again, like in a lot of cases, if you can't answer simple questions, like you really do come off very shady is what it is. And I think honestly, like that's something with that Corey dude, and that's something that NEA even said last night, was like, yeah, the guy can't even answer simple questions and stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, just watch my content and stuff like that. It's like, bro, we're not gonna, like, you're here right now, just answer the fucking question. Like, don't be talking in riddles. Don't be talking like nonsensical circular logic bullshit. Like, just answer the fucking questions being asked. And if you can't answer that question, and honestly, I would say like 10 words or less, because it really is like a 10-word or less answer. And you're going to sit there and just, keep saying sentence after sentence after sentence. Like, you're trying to make yourself look more intellectual than you actually are, is what it is. And you're actually showing you're really just dumb motherfuckers, what it ends up being, dude. So, anyway. That's how I kind of feel about the whole thing in general. And I think that's the problem with a lot of our stuff, dude. And what's interesting too is that panel last night. We were in there for about an hour or so discussing certain things and stuff like that. That was going good, honestly. And then that dude showed up, and then it was like, yeah, the next hour and a half almost was like, oh my god, is this dude still fucking talking for like the whole time? because it eventually became like him and NEA going at it with each other, and then I think there was like one or two of us that like said like something like in between in that like 90-minute time span, and I'm just like, fuck. And you could actually hear me when I finally did like on mute for the first time after the dude finally left the panel. I'm just like, fuck. And that's what it was, dude. Like, that's how I felt about it, honestly. Like, that's the best way to describe it, man. And a lot of the others were the same way, man. They're just like, Jesus. And that's how we all felt about that, honestly. It's just, And again, like, my thing is, there was a lot of interesting stories I think we could have covered, honestly, that we didn't get a chance to cover because of that whole thing, because we spent, basically 90 minutes talking in circles with this dude. And that's the problem with that kind of stuff in general, dude. It's like, it's fine if you want to live your life like that or whatever the case be, and you want to, find, similar people that want to do the same, honestly. But how many of those people are actually going to be that way, dude? A couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand at most, if even that many. Like, yeah, it's going to be probably a few dozen to a few hundred, would be my guess, honestly, into maybe a couple thousand when it's all said and done. And then eventually it'll be, Waco 2.0, fucking Jonestown 2.0, something like that is what it'll be. That's the one thing that scares me too, by the way, shit like that. Like, that's what I was thinking last night during this whole thing. I'm like, like, are we gonna? Because the guy's talking about like, oh yeah, you'll see so much of this going on in the future and stuff like that. And I'm like, are we really just gonna see a news headline like 3 to 5 years from now where it's like, local cult commits suicide or something like that? Like, that's what it feels like, honestly, dude. Like, that's exactly how I felt about the whole thing. And if it be a Jonestown 2.0 or a Waco 2.0 or something like that. And that's the thing, dude. Like, there was a lot of people, that fell for Jim Jones bullshit back in the day, dude. And the same thing with any, good, cult leader, or like, high ranking member of a cult and stuff like that, is if they can speak very intellectually and stuff like that to people who, are lower IQ and sort of get them to, follow their crap is what it is, they can definitely 100%, start to form this following is what it is, man. And unfortunately, there's been many, many times in history, throughout human history, where that following takes a dark turn. And almost all the time, it's usually by mass suicide eventually. Whether it be a Jonestown type massacre, whether it be a Waco type massacre, whether it be fucking, all that stuff over the decades and stuff like that. There's so many other examples too, by the way. That's the best ones I can think of off here right now, specifically Jonestown, because of the fact that I believe it was either the other day or it's like tomorrow or something like that is when it's supposed to be the anniversary for that thing. I think it was actually last week, if I'm not mistaken, like right before Thanksgiving, like the 1920s, somewhere in there. And the reason I know that's because I was looking up the other day, which, you think about that even, going off on a little tangent for that one, actually, for that specific reasoning. And this is the reason why I bring up Jonestown as well, is there was a congressman, or maybe he was a senator, actually, now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I think he was a senator. And the dude had gone there to get, I think it was his daughter or his son or something, and then some other people wanted to come with him too, is what it was. Imagine if that guy had lived, how much different America would be. Because obviously you would have had that individual in, Congress/Senate at the time to potentially push forward legislation against, various other things like that is what it is. And the thing with that is, if you look at it from that perspective of stuff, how long until something like that was going to be a thing? And how long would that have been, him being able to get, stuff passed in our government and things like that to essentially ban those kind of, cult type of groups and stuff like that, or at least, have some kind of oversight with them and stuff like that would have been, man. And maybe you wouldn't have seen such a rise in stuff like Scientology and shit now. So, who knows? But yeah, it's definitely interesting to think about stuff like that, like alternate history and like, various other discussions along that line, especially considering I'm writing a book right now about alternate history and have been for, the better part of a year now. For those interested that don't know about that specific, it's actually a set of books. It would basically be alternate history if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and MLK were never assassinated. And basically, the first book deals with how they are saved from assassinations, and then goes into detail about how they became president and vice president, respectively. And then it basically goes throughout, the next essentially 50 something years of society, and, various changes that them becoming president and VP would have done, and how much differently, America would look like in an alternate 2022, basically, is what it is. So, but yeah, very, very, very interesting stuff. And I have basically the layout of most of it already for, it's going to be a 4-book series eventually. And it would be, you would have first book basically be about, lead up to, I believe it was the 68 presidential election. And then it would be them becoming president and VP respectively. Or no, 68, 72. One of those two. I can't remember offhand. I'm getting tired now. But yeah, whichever one was the closest one. No, I think it was a 68 election then. But yeah, it'd be that one, and then it'd be, various things there, and then of course other stuff happening, and who would become like presidents and VPs after that and stuff like that, and who wouldn't have become, various politicians and things like that in power. And yeah, it takes out like there's definitely a lot of change actually in that, dude, because you're talking about entire presidencies are just out the window now, and they're changed whether people or new individuals come up and become president and stuff like that, or VP or whatever it is, and different timelines emerge and various other stuff happens, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of interesting things in those books, man. So, and hopefully I'll be able to finish writing the first one here in the next few months, and I'm hoping to drop it at some point next year, hopefully, as a self-publishing or whatever, and then go from there. Basically, after that would be, do the second one, third one, and fourth one, and stuff like that, because it's all going to tie together, obviously, of like various things that we're seeing happen now, like many decades after they should have. So, yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. And then I'm also in the process of trying to develop it's not really a book, but it would essentially be a screenplay for a potential pilot / series that would be an alternate television series set in the exact same universe that Red Dawn was. And it would be about a group of National Guardsmen in Texas and a few other individuals as well in that one, and how they would have dealt with, the invasion in that time period and stuff like that in that universe. So that should be pretty cool as well. I've also done some other stuff over the past couple of years too, as well, about there's another different series I was working on that would have been a TV series based on American History X, and it would have been the fallout going directly after the movie ends, and then going throughout like decades of time period there, like all the way to the current time period in the present is what it is, and how differently things would be, and how much what would basically make a man snap and go back to his old ways, kind of thing, is what it would have been. And just showing like the fallout of like what would happen like after that dude loses his brother and stuff in that movie. So yeah, but that one's kind of gone on the back burner at this point, because I did just enough of that to basically get it to where it would be interesting, and then just stop kind of writing it is what it was. But yeah, I've been really working on this other book though, and then like I said, in the back, sort of off time and stuff like that, off and on. Also been working on the thing with the Red Dawn series is what it would have been. So, which I think people would very much enjoy. And if we could do it correctly, I think it would be like a badass version, like even more badass version actually of Jericho, but set in like an earlier time period is what it would be then. It'd be like the 80s instead of like, the 2000s and stuff like that. So, which even looking at that series actually, Jericho, since it's been, I don't know how long it's been now, 15 years, give or take, probably, since that was on. I think it was about 2007, 2008, someplace in there. And yeah, man, that fucking. It's funny to me looking back at that show because so many of those farmers and stuff like that just had like, bolt action rifles and shit like that. And it wasn't until the guy was like, "Oh yeah, here's a whole shitload of fucking ARs and M16s and stuff like that for y'all to use." Which, ironically enough, that dude then became the guy that played Morgan in Walking Dead. So yeah, it's kind of funny that guy. It's funny to me that Lenny James was basically typecast as like essentially this post-apocalyptic kind of guy or whatever as an actor and stuff, which isn't a bad typecasting to have, especially if it brings you work for a couple decades and stuff like that. But that is the one problem I have seen with a lot of Hollywood stuff recently. Is if you ever notice when it comes to like period piece shows and shit like that, like whether it be like a western or um like 1800 style western or whatever the case be, or like some kind of like Victorian era series or movie or whatever it is, it's almost always the same people that get cast in those things, and it's because they're being typecast, unfortunately, and it is kind of sad actually. And what's actually kind of funny in some ways actually is looking at that show Tulsa King that recently came out from Paramount. In the first episode of that, there's a bunch of guys in a room, and I think like 2 or 3 of the guys that are in the scene are all guys that played in Boardwalk Empire, and they're supposed to be mobsters in the Tulsa King series too. It's like, that's just funny, dude. Like, you're being typecast in like multiple generation different TV shows and stuff like that, and it's like that is a little bit pathetic, though, honestly. And certain ways of thinking and stuff, because it then again shows like exactly how Hollywood tends to work and stuff like that, unfortunately. But yeah, that's actually not a bad show that I've seen so far, and I've only watched, I think, the first episode of it is what it was. I don't think I caught the second episode yet. I need to go find that and watch the second episode because now it's out now, and probably a third one's going to drop here in the next day or so if it hasn't already. But yeah, that was a good one. From is another great series. Has Harold, I think his name is Peregrine. I could be wrong about that one. The guy that played, I think, was Michael in Lost, the black dude whose son was always hanging out with John Locke. And yeah, I'll tell you what, that Harold dude, he really does, like, comparing to the character that he played in Lost, where he was kind of a douchebag and just like a do nothing character, kind of throwaway, just annoyance is what it was for the most part. He definitely steals the fucking spotlight in this From series, dude. Like, he is a legit good actor in that show, dude. And I think that's the problem. Like, I think it very well could have been writing, honestly, even when it came to Lost and stuff like that. Like, he was more or less like a newer dude at the time or whatever the case be, didn't really have a whole lot of credits underneath his name is what it was. And so they kind of looked at him as like a background character anyway. And so they kind of had like a shit writing script for him and stuff like that, versus like this From show where he definitely, you can tell that he's definitely like the lead in this series, and he does very, very well in it. There's a couple other actors in that show that are like definitely like secondary characters and other things as well, like the father of the family that comes into the town and stuff like that. That dude, I forget what that guy's name is off. It's something real weird, but that dude, he was in what was that show that came out recently? That was a miniseries. God, I'm trying to think what that's called now. The one with it was Whoopi as the old black lady who could like spiritually like go into people's dreams and shit like that. God, I can't think of what that's fucking called now. It was a remake of a show, miniseries from the 90s. The Stand, that's what it was. Stephen King's The Stand. Yeah, it was the 2020s remake of that, which, by the way, was a fucking excellent miniseries. The only thing that pissed me off, though, is I felt like there should have been like another episode or two of of that show, because there was definitely stuff that they should have shown in that they didn't show in that. And it really did bother me, because there was definitely like a couple scenes they could have added to that to make it more, I don't really want to say like drag it out or whatever the case be, but like make it so that people's not experiences, people's storylines and stuff like that made more sense, because it felt like there was definitely like a bunch of extra material that could have been added into episodes and stuff like that. They just sort of like chopped out and throw on the cutting room floor and stuff like that. Where it's like this kind of makes sense, but I feel like there's like a scene missing here that it would make more sense if this scene was here, kind of thing. And that's what I hate about Hollywood so much sometimes is like they will sit there and take like a great show that, you know, they want to be like an hour or something like that, where it needs to be like 90 minutes or something. And they'll just like cut out like 30 minutes of great content here and there and like little snippets here and there. But they'll leave in like some of the stuff that maybe should have been cut out entirely. And so you have stuff there that like almost kind of makes sense, but not really. And then you realize like, oh, okay, it's because they cut out like 2 other scenes that should have been part of this kind of thing or whatever. And then you're like, oh, okay, that makes total sense now. Because if those had been there, you would have been like, oh, now that totally explained like the whole thing to us is what it was. But yeah, I think that's the problem in a lot of cases with so much of that stuff is like they don't want to, you know, drag something out where they in some cases need to is what it is, man. But yeah, that new version of The Stand is definitely an excellent miniseries. If you haven't seen it yet, I would suggest watching it at some point here. It was on, I believe it was on the CBS affiliate thing that became part of that Paramount Network thing now. So it's probably on that whatever place there. But, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, like I said, that dude was one of the secondary characters in that. And then he became like one of the lead guys in that From show. And I know that series is supposed to be going to like season 2 at some point next year, and that should be fucking awesome. I could totally see that show actually being set in like an alternate universe kind of deal that like corresponds with like one of the supernatural universes or something like that as well, which would be pretty sweet just because of the creatures in it and stuff like that. But I don't want to give away too much detail for those that haven't watched it yet. I would suggest watching it because it's fucking good. Some people say it's a slow burn. I don't know if I'd say that honestly about it. You know, I was pretty much hooked from end of episode 1, mostly because of the fact it ends a cliffhanger, and I'm just like, I want to see what happens in episode 2, and then I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to sit here and watch like a couple more then is what it is, and then I eventually like binge watched the shit out of that entire series. I think it was like 8 or 9 episodes is what it was, in the time span of like less than a weekend is what it was. It was like partway through Saturday morning is when I started watching it, the first couple episodes, and I was like, yeah, I'm kind of tired after like episode 3 or whatever. And then I ended up going to sleep for a few hours, waking up, and I watched the rest of the series after that then. So it was within like probably about 18 hours or something like that. I watched the entire show for the first season. I've watched it a couple times since then. So it's definitely, and the thing is, it definitely gets better with repeat watches, I think, because you sort of know stuff is coming, but then you're still like, kind of like, oh, well, here, check out this interesting thing that you never really saw before, kind of thing is what it is. And there is definitely stuff you missed the first time around, I think, in some cases. But yeah, it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens with the show in season 2 and stuff like that. Because I know there's a bunch of people that got up to series regulars now. And there's also a bunch of other folks that have now gotten added into the cast for the coming season, because the way that the first season ends is a bunch of new people coming into the town. And it'll be that set of people that are going to be like the new guest starring folks and stuff like that is what it'll be for season 2. And like, what do you call it? Not only guest stars, but also just like, I forget what the actual term they use for them is not. It's not like series regular, but it's like sort of like a part-time kind of role or something like that is what it is. Like you're there for some of the episodes, but not all of them is what it is. It's kind of like it's almost like the also starring kind of thing is what it is though. Where it's like, yeah, you're not quite like main cast, but you're also not like, you know, just somebody's going to be here for like an episode. You're going to be here for like a bunch of episodes is what it is going to be. And eventually, like the next go around for the next season after that, you might be like a series regular kind of person then or something like that. So, but yeah, it's interesting though. And like I said, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that one and stuff like that. But yeah, to go full circle back to what I was saying to begin with in this episode though, I don't know. I feel like there was definitely a lot of stupid shit said last night that really didn't need to be said, and it was a lot. Like I said, it was a lot of circular logic, I think, with that new guy. And one thing I thought was funny though was something I noticed in the comment section that I had to mute myself to start kind of laughing. Then was somebody, I forget who it was, mentioned something about like, oh, is that dude the new Ray Ray and stuff like that? And I'm like, oh fuck, man. Honestly, I mean, shit, maybe. You never know, man. But nah, it's. I don't think we'd put that dude into that category just yet. Is what it is. But yeah, it's just it'll be interesting to see what happens though. Like I said, and yeah, it'll be fun to go from there then and see what we accomplish when we have various things going on. Is what it is. And like I said, man, the Honda's Gay Frog chat will be interesting on Sunday night then, because most likely it seems like we'll be talking about a lot of crazy shit going off in China and stuff like that, because there's a lot of shit popping off there, man. A lot of shit popping off there, and none of it's actually good, by the way. It's all very, very bad, man. Sadly, it's a situation where people are gonna fucking go nuts, man. People are gonna do what they want to do, and unfortunately, certain individuals, the powers that be, the government, tyranny, tyrants, etc., are going to keep doing tyrant shit until they're forced to stop. Basically, is what it is. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing now in China. Is what it is, man. You're seeing a bunch of people who are finally having a tyrannical government, and that's awesome. That's great, dude, because that's what should have happened decades ago in that country. It's sickening to think that as a country right now, when it comes to China, dude, how you have so many men in that nation and so few women because of the one child policy that they had going on there for decades, where you literally had little girls, newborn babies, chucked off fucking bridges and everything else like that, dude, because, oh, sorry, honey, we wanted a fucking son and we can't have no daughter. And now they have to literally import women from like different Philippine countries and Taiwan and stuff like that. That's what it is, bro. It's fucking pathetic, man. It really is. There was zero reason for that to ever happen. They would have never had to do that if they had just let people have children. And that's that's a great example right there of communism, actually, in a nutshell, dude. You have China, who tried to do communism there, went full retard when it came to communism and stuff like that, dude. Got to a point where they were killing their citizenry and stuff like that. Got almost to the brink of extinction. And then finally it was like, oh, nope, shit, got to go full fucking capitalism now. And that's exactly what they did. And that's when they started taking American manufacturing jobs and stuff like that. And yeah, that's exactly what we've seen for the past, 20-ish years now, is them just taking our fucking, gangful, good paying employment and essentially wiping us out as a nation and having us buy all their bullshit and stuff like that, and becoming a consumer country instead of becoming an actual independent nation of our own, where we could do self-sustainability and stuff like that. And that's again and honestly, this is kind of where, going full circle back again to that Corey dude, this is where I will 100% agree with him on that stuff when it comes to, sort of government shit is what it is, dude, because that's the problem. When you have a government that doesn't know how to get the fuck out of the way and understand the will of the people and stuff like that, that's where you get to a point where you're going to have conflicts and shit like that. And I believe, truthfully, this is exactly why we are heading where we're heading right now as a country, is because you're going to have people that are just over it, dude, that have just had it. And how can you blame them? How can you blame individuals for being over it, dude? You should never have to. You should never have to do that. Because again, it's a situation where if it wasn't for a fucking dumbass government going full retard, you wouldn't have to actually be in this position now, to where you potentially are risking, starvation because of stupidity is what it really ends up being, dude, at the end of the day. And it's sad. It's a sad, sad situation all the way around. It's a sad fucking life. It's a sad existence that we have to live now because a bunch of dumbass fucking retarded morons want to sit there and fuck with our livelihood, want to sit there and fuck with our country, want to sit there and fuck with our actual lives is what it is, man. And it's damn pathetic, honestly. And I think, honestly, and as I said before in this whole thing, I think the main reason why you haven't seen a straight up uprising in America at this point, dude, is because people are just scared. They're just scared that they're going to be the first one black bag. They're scared that they're going to be the first one, drug out into the streets, et cetera, et cetera. And in reality, it's going to be way worse than that, if we keep allowing this shit to go on, man. It's like I was telling some people earlier, actually. I don't know if I ever mentioned this on camera or not, but I'm going to mention right now, actually, just to make sure it's here on, video and stuff. I believe that we're seeing a possibility in this country right now where you have our government getting to a point right now where they know something's coming. How quickly would it be for them to take out individuals in the middle of the night, dude? And by that, I mean the people that potentially would be, the squad leaders, the military veterans that have a bunch of combat experience that could actually lead like everyday citizenry and rebellions and shit like that. And I believe that's exactly who they would target first, honestly. I believe they target those people first. It would be like that Terminal List show where you just have some dude going back to his house and finding his family dead kind of thing. And, they try to kill him then too or whatever. And then it would be, who's next after that? It would be all the patriots in this country. It would be people like myself and everybody else like that, we're sick and tired of government tyranny. And we've already maybe gotten a knock on our fucking door in federal swattings and stuff like that, like I did, 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago now. August 2019, one of the worst days of my fucking life, honestly. Something I will always look back on because of the fact that it was such a fucked up thing that never needed to happen. And again, this is what happens when you got a bunch of jackbooted thuggery, trying to put their fucking boots on your neck is what it is, dude. Oh my God, you said something on the internet that we didn't like, and now we're going to try to fuck with your freedom because we're the fucking government. That's exactly what it was at the end of the day, dude. It was, oh my God, this what if scenario that you said that, just happened to involve a living fucking person. Like, oh my God, oh my God. Yeah, fuck Andrew Yang and his followers, dude, seriously. I'll say that every day of my life at this point, man. Because that's exactly what it was caused by. It was some fucking cocksucker Yang supporter is what it was, dude. That was all like, oh, you can't say that about my fucking shitty candidate who's literally fucking buying people's votes and should be in prison right now for the next decade of his life. For literally vote buying. Honestly, the fact that Yang still has yet to be arrested for that like several years later is bullshit entirely, dude. That dude should have been arrested many, many times over at this point in history. So, anyway. But yeah, it's a bunch of crap, dude. It really is. It's a bunch of bullshit all the way around. And I'm personally sick and tired of it, dude. I'm sick and tired of, watching this country basically fall to nothingness because of a bunch of geriatric fucks who should have been tossed out of power decades ago is what it is, man. And that's the thing. I know personally, man, I never fucking, signed on the dotted line to put a bunch of fucking debt on myself or my children or my grandchildren or anything else like that, dude. And I don't think many other Americans did for that matter either, dude. Most of us were like, nah, bro, that ain't us. Fuck you kind of thing is what it was. And I think, unfortunately, the longer that we go as a society and the longer that we, keep allowing, tyranny to basically win, the worse off we're going to be as a country, And that's why I think, honestly, right now, personally, if we had a peaceful divorce, honestly, at this point, we would be much, much better off. Unfortunately, I don't think our government's ever going to do that, dude. I don't think they're ever going to allow that power to be, lost, is what it is. And so what are you going to have? You're going to have a violent, conflict of some kind, most likely kicked off by governments is what it is at this point. And then they're going to finally, fuck around too long and they're going to find out is what it is, man. I mean, hell, you got the entire state of Oregon right now trying to ban the sale of pretty much every single gun in that state right now, dude. And it's like, how the hell do you fuckers think that's going to work out, dude, in the long run? It's not going to work out well for y'all, man. It really ain't. Like, it's going to be most likely the citizenry rising the fuck up against you very soon, is what it'll be, man. So, honestly, like, even going back to, you know, a couple years ago and stuff like that in the state of Oregon, dude, I'm surprised that Kate Brown ain't in jail at this point, when she literally was trying to cause a essentially civil war between Oregon and Idaho over that stupid cap and trade bill a few years back now, dude. The fact that she was able to remain in office after that is just absolutely ridiculous, dude. And really, again, goes to show the power of tyrannical government. It goes to show the power of people not, you know, wanting to step up and actually kick people the fuck out of office, is what it is, dude. Because she should have been in office. She should have been kicked out of office many, many years ago, man. And the fact that she wasn't is absolute bullshit entirely. It's disgusting, is what it is, dude. And it's even more disgusting that you have people continue to basically fuck around and be like, oh, yeah, let's go ahead and keep voting fucking Democrats into office, and all these rhino establishment motherfuckers, too, for that matter, dude. So, or even worse, you got people who clearly don't even vote, is what it is, man. And are like, oh, but we can make change outside of that, though. It's like, not really. Like, yeah, you can sit there and try to claim you're a functioning society or whatever the case be, is like your own little thing or whatever, dude, but if you're still paying, you know, taxes to the fucking government and stuff like that, you're not really living free, are you? And that's the problem right now. Unless you're not paying taxes, which then, you know, that opens a whole can of worms with like tax evasion and stuff like that, which, you know, again, it's semantics at that point, honestly, because it really does go to a factoid of the fact that you have a government that really has no power to tax you to begin with, and people are just putting up with that, is what it is, dude. And us collectively just being like, oh, but, you know, there's this thing, whatever the case be. And I think, honestly, if most of us had it our way, property tax would be out the fucking window immediately, dude. That would be one of the first ones to go away forever, and that should have gone away forever decades ago, is what it would have been. I want to say that was one of the ones after World War II, I believe. I think that was around the time they put that crap into place or whatever. And it should never exist to begin with, dude. It was, again, to pay off war shit. You know, it's just like the same thing with the Whiskey Rebellion, which was obviously could have been called the Rye Rebellion, because that's what it really was. It wasn't whiskey per se. It was the actual ingredients of whiskey they were trying to take at the time, which would have been, I'm trying to think now. Yeah, it would have been the actual rye plants and stuff like that were used to make the whiskey, is what it would have been. And the thing with that was, because you had that going on there, you also had everybody else doing their own thing. And it was basically Washington, at the end of the day, stepping in and being like, hey, you know, I'm going to let this kind of play out until X, Y, and Z happens. And then eventually X, Y, and Z happened. And you ended up having a situation there where it was him finally having to like sort of step in and was like, nah, bro, like this can't go on, kind of thing. And mind you, that was like pre-Insurrection Act even, because I think had it been Insurrection Act enacted at the time or whatever, you would have definitely had, I believe, truthfully, that potentially be the first Insurrection Act in this country. And what's interesting, too, is even going back to the whole slavery thing as well, that Corey guy liked to espouse a lot last night and stuff like that, was if you look back into one of the other insurrection acts early on in the creation after that happened, Nat Turner's Rebellion. It was a dude who was a slave at the time on one of the plantations named Nat Turner, who got a bunch of other slaves together, and they basically were trying to overthrow plantations and stuff like that. That's what it was. And yeah, they were put down very quickly, is what it was, man. Very, very quickly. And unfortunately for them, it was one of those situations where it's like, yeah, dude, like, sort of sucks to be you kind of thing. And it is sad. It is sad when you look at, you know, what happens when you have an unarmed populace versus a tyrannical government kind of thing is what it is, dude, because what happens then. You have a bunch of innocent people get slaughtered, get massacred, and stuff like that over some bullshit. And it's the same thing, day after day, week after week, month after month. You can talk about even modern day slavery now, because that's a thing. Most of the time it's just debt slavery at this point. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't really want to ever talk about that, is what it is, man, because it doesn't really fit their narrative, is what it is. And, that's why I'll mention that, honestly. It's like the whole college loan thing, dude. Like, that's one of the biggest fucking scams ever created in this country, honestly, dude. And then, of course, you got fucking Democrats being like, "Oh no, we'll totally cut your student loan debts. You just gotta vote for us again. The 2022 midterms here." And it was like days after that, they're like, "Ha ha 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 ha, got you, motherfuckers." And yeah, they immediately were like, "Nope, sorry, your debt still has to be paid now, but keep voting for us, a bunch of fucking knobs." And that's really what it was at the end of the day, dude. Like, literally. And it's just sad, man. It's sad how many people they hoodwinked into that bullshit, and how many idiots really fell for that shit, dude, is what it was. I thought they were actually going to get their student loans expunged. And it's like, nah, man. That shit's with you pretty much forever until you pay that crap off, man. Or until our government by default ends up, defaulting as a fucking country. But they're going to prop that shit up as much as possible, man. As much as fucking possible. Until it basically all crumbles to ash. And I think that time is coming very soon, honestly, dude. Because you're finally seeing, I don't know if I really want to call it a mass awakening at this point, but it's definitely an awakening to some extent within various groups of individuals and, various groups of people in general, where people are finally starting to wake up and be like, you know what, fuck government tyranny, like, fuck, being ruled by a bunch of unconstitutional motherfuckers and stuff like that. And I think that's what we're going to finally see happen very quickly in this country, dude, in the coming, months and probably next couple of years and stuff like that, especially next year, I believe. I think we're definitely heading for some crazy times ahead right now, dude, when it comes to the possibility of shit kicking off next year. And I really do. I fear what is coming right now, man, because I think we're about to be heading into some dark, uncharted waters right now. And if we don't get out of this, shit at this point, like, we are coming very, very, very close to having just a completely collapse in our society and basically living through a Great Depression of our own pretty soon. That would definitely rival the actual Great Depression, if not be way worse than that. And honestly, like, I don't know, man. I got my own issues right now, health wise, and just thinking about it, man, just makes me even more fearful of what is to come right now, because I just see, like, how bad it's gotten and how bad it could get, and just, I keep going back to that thing that someone did years ago. It was a little video of Venezuela's hyperinflation over the time span of like a 3-year go or whatever it was there, between like 2012, 2014, somewhere in there, before they went like completely hyperinflation to like non-existence as a country, more or less. And dude, like, them and South Sudan and a couple of those other countries like that, man, they're all like war-torn shitholes basically, and communist hellholes is what it is. That's where America's heading right now, unfortunately, with fucking old demented pedo boy at the fucking wheel, Biden himself. And I think, unfortunately, like, the longer that shit goes, man, like, oh my god, bro. Fuck. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be bad times ahead, man. Bad times ahead. But yeah, unfortunately, it's not gonna be good, man. And yeah, it sucks, man. It really does. And I think it's going to get much, much worse before it gets better, man. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens though. Sorry, my mind was sort of I was trying to back read while I was trying to talk here. Um, Game related stuff for those that don't know. Obviously, I play that Walking Dead Survivors game, and apparently the truce is over, man, in that game because as of yesterday, as far as I was aware, we were doing our own thing and people were doing their own thing for the rest of the season here, and then some fucking assholes from one of the clans came and wiped our shit out. Uh, had some pay to win guy send not one but three different formations of dudes after my fucking town and completely wipe out my formations in about a minute and a half time span. And you're talking about things I spent probably a good 3 weeks fucking building up and stuff like that for them to just be knocked out by some fucking dickhead throwing a credit card at the fucking machine is what it is. That's why I can't stand pay to win and any kind of gaming stuff, dude, because it's just asshole after asshole is what it is. And again, that goes back to the whole. That actually does kind of fit in with this whole thing, dude. It's just, people being dicks is what it is, man. Want to be dicks is what it is, man. It's like, oh, I got a bunch of money. I can fucking spend a bunch of money on this game. And you don't. So, haha, fuck you. And it's like, and you want our people quit, dude. Hell, what's even sadder is that the guy who was our current region chief in this go around actually quit the game yesterday because of it. Sucks, man. It really does. Really, really does. So, anyway. That's pretty much where we're at, though, is what it is, man. Um, but yeah, it really does just like, it's one of those things, like I said, man. People are going to be dicks, dude. And that's kind of human nature, is what it is. It's like, oh, I think I'm better than you kind of thing. Like, let me go ahead and prove that kind of shit or whatever it is, dude. And it's like, again, that's also an issue I have with like certain like gaming in general, is what it is, like microtransaction gaming in general, is because of the fact that you have people who want to sit there and be like, oh, well, I'm gonna do this shit or whatever the case be, and then you're gonna do these things or whatever. And it's like, yeah, you definitely have like that power level gap is what it is. And then you have these people that'll sit there and throw down a bunch of money on the game and stuff like that, and be all like, oh, but I'm so much further ahead because I paid to win kind of crap, and just have that sort of snooty ass mentality. But the funny thing is, like, if and when the shit actually does hit the fan, those are the people that have no survival skills in this country. They'll be the first ones to die in most cases. And if they don't die in most cases, they'll be the ones that'll be ditch diggers when the shit actually does go full circle and stuff like that, dude, because they'll have no skill set. They might be, a good, useful mammal, basically, is what it is, and just like a workhorse kind of person or whatever. And that's what it would be, man. You would be like, okay, here's a fucking shovel. Go dig that ditch over there. Go dig the whole shit pit, basically, if you will. And that's what it would be, man. It'd be like that one episode of I forget which season it was of Walking Dead, where you had Negan with the whispers and stuff like that, and you had Alpha and him like hanging out by the one thing or whatever. And then she just like knocks him into a fucking pit, and it's like all their poop pit basically that they had. That was all like this little dugout fucking hole, essentially, is what it was. Which is super nasty, by the way, because obviously, like, what it seemed like they were doing was just sort of walking over to that and just like pulling their fucking pants down and then just squatting to like shit in towards the fucking like big old pit is what it was, dude. And it's like, that's nasty, man. That shit's nasty. But yeah, needless to say, like I said, though, that's pretty much where it is, though, man. Is you have just all this craziness, man. And yeah, people think that they can fuck you over. Unfortunately, it did, you know. and it sucks, man. Like and that's the thing. Like it takes a long time to fucking build up um, formations in this game for stuff. And like I said, in roughly like a minute and a half to 2 minutes, some asshole like knocks all my shit into the dust. Is what it is, dude, for nothing. So yeah, definitely blows, man. So. But yeah, anyway. So oh, that is nice though. We apparently got a new person into our guild, it looks like, maybe. There wasn't one more person actually leaving now. I'm looking at that. Can't tell. Yeah, unfortunately there's some people that left recently as well. So we'll find out here in a second though. But yeah. Like I said though, it's fucked up, man. The whole situation all the way around and stuff like that. And people that think like anarchy, pacifistic anarchy, whatever you want to call it at that point, is gonna like be a solution to anything. It's like you're in Dream Street, man. And that's the truth at the end of the day. Like that shit's gonna go nowhere real quick, man. You know? And it's unfortunate that people want to sort of fall into that, mentality of life because like I said, it's gonna get them nowhere, is what it is. But yeah, as it is, I think we're starting to talk in circles now because I'm getting really fucking tired. And we've been going for over an hour anyway. So yeah, it just the whole thing bothers me. And today was just a weird day. Not to mention I had to get a whole new laptop now because fucking the old one decided to take a shit on me. Friday night. Yeah, was sitting here getting ready to watch some content, and then all of a sudden, bang bang boom, fucking starts being unresponsive. Go to soft reset it and stuff like that, and then it comes back on, and it's just like a total black screen and stuff. And I'm just like, well, fuck, man. And yeah, just basically stopped working since then. I think there is a way to bring it back, is what it is. It's just I don't have the skill set to do such a thing. And, my tech knowledge is not as good as it should be. And unfortunately, because of that, like, it's going to be a situation where it's not going to be me. I'm eventually going to try to get it done because my brother is a tech guy and stuff like that. So I'm hoping he can do something with it, but who knows? If he can't, he can't, and it's whatever then. But like for the most part, my feeling on the entire situation is right now, I'm hopefully going to get it resolved at some point and be able to at least get the stuff off of that one and put it onto this one, if nothing else, then, and have all my content that I need for this shit then, and get that done then that way is what it is. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much where we're at for the day though, is what it is. And like I said, we'll be back at some point again. Not exactly sure when just yet. Might be tomorrow, might be a couple days from now, might be sometime next week for that matter. I don't know, man. I'll probably do a two-way podcast at some point in the coming weeks, actually. I'm just not exactly sure when. Probably Friday, actually, will be a new one. Since it seems like with this new setup, I might actually be able to do stuff now and wouldn't have it be an issue on a regular basis to be able to, start showing content and stuff like that. I actually haven't gone on Breitbart in the last, 2 days, actually, now I'm thinking about it, since this all happened. So, need to see what's going on there and stuff like that. Usually that's a good news site source for a lot of things. They're actually one of the better ones because they do tend to go into quite a bit of detail on things. But other than that, like I said, that's pretty much where we're at right now. And yeah, last night was mind numbing, I guess is the best way to describe it. You know, when you got some person talking in circles consistently and, you know, people ask them a serious question, they're just like, oh, but this, and this kind of thing or whatever, and don't actually answer the question. It's like, dude, what the fuck? You know? Like, it's not that hard of a question. Just answer the fucking question. And that's the problem, too, by the way. If you ever notice that with people like that, if they can't answer that simple question, it's because they don't actually have an answer to the question because they know that whatever they're trying to espouse is what it is bullshit that would never work out as what it is. And they can't just admit that is what it is, dude. And unfortunately for them, it's a lot of pride, I believe, when it comes to crap like that. And that's the thing. Like, I have no problem if you have pride or whatever, dude, and whatever the hell it is you're trying to espouse there and whatnot. But yeah, man, like, if somebody's going to ask you a flat out question, answer the damn question. And if you can't answer the question, like, that just proves to everybody that you don't have an answer to it, is what it is. Like, I'd much rather that person be like, oh, I just don't have an answer to that, or whatever the case be. Or if I do have an answer to that, it's like something that I can't sit here and talk about in like deep, like, you know, the next 15, 20 minutes that I have to sit here and explain it for, or whatever. But here's an actual link to a video where I do explain it in like that time period or something. Like, if that's what they gave me as like an answer, and it was like an actual link that they dropped, then like I'd be fine with that, man. And maybe I'd go watch that video and stuff. Or maybe I'd just sit here and be like, ah, fuck it, kind of thing is what it is, man. But yeah, my biggest issue though is if you're not going to give people an actual, you know, real answer to stuff and just be like, oh, but it could be this, and this kind of crap or whatever. And it's like, or you're just talking out of your ass, dude, is what it really is, honestly, in most cases. So, but yeah, you'll have people like that from time to time. And, you know, unfortunately, those are going to be the people that out themselves very quickly. And again, I'm not trying to categorize people entirely, but yeah, those tend to be the people that, you know, very much fall into very similar categories, is what it is with other individuals, your, you know, sort of Antifa types and stuff like that is what it is, that just want to sit there and bullshit and, you know, throw out a bunch of crap or whatever the case be and be like, but that wasn't real communism or that wasn't real socialism. And it's like, yes, it was, because all those things always lead to dead people. And that's the thing, man. Like, literally, if you have ever been under the real regimes of that kind of shit, dude, you're dead. Period. Like, that's how it fucking ends. It ends with a lot of fucking dead people. And for those that don't want to actually sit there and realize that's the case, like, you're just an idiot, is what it is, man. So, yeah, I don't know what to tell you on that one, man. Seriously, learn history or you're doomed to repeat it, man. That's about all I can give you as an answer for that whole thing. But other than that, like I said, that's pretty much where we're at for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And like I said, I'll be back at some point in the coming days for stuff. We're back under the regular account again. I got a bunch of hours worth of stuff I can kill in the next 30 days or less. So, you know, you'll probably see a bunch of content come on the channel again at some point here in the coming days and weeks. So, other than that, that's where we're at for today. Like I said, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And I will be back for something probably, I don't even know. Maybe Cyber Monday, maybe something else, dude. Yeah, he heard us all, Corey. Like I said, the dude, like, I almost left a couple of times last night. Yeah, it was definitely mind numbing for sure. And I think a lot of us got dumber after that whole hour and a half conversation. I know I lost at least a couple IQ points over that whole thing. So, anyway. But yeah, like I said, I'll be back at some point. And then most likely I'll be part of Honda's Gay Frog chat tomorrow. So, if you guys want to go watch that, as far as I'm aware, we'll be talking about crazy shit with tyranny and stuff like that. So, in China. So, there you go, man. Anyway, See you guys in the next one.